And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental Hotel here, talking about the state of the nation. Although, as I stated at the top of the show, the topic should be, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. Tweets coming in, Willie. Think it fast, that's right, because I've got Betty Murugi here and Karanja Kabage to dissect last week's news. Calvin's Omondi says, Betty is right, the appointments are underwhelming. David Wawero, however, says, do we expect young people with Sheng epithet to chair boards? Entitlement mentality is ruining our youth. Interesting point. And then Joseph Jumbe says, Kabage is wrong. There is a substitute for experience. It is called creativity. Kenyans are speaking out.
Good.
Indeed they are.
You're welcome.
All right, should we switch gears, or you want to comment on any one of what these people said? Entitlement mentality. Yani, haki yetu, it is our time.
That's what I said. I mean, and we have a problem in this country. And the tragedy is that, and I like what this guy is talking about, the issue of creativity. But for us to be able to create, it must manifest itself as to how much we are producing in way of goods and services. Now, if there is no production of goods and services, what creativity are you talking about? Yeah.
I mean, part of the reason I think why, you know, some people have an entitlement mentality is also because quite a large section of the country has a victim mentality. They feel victimized. And the reason people are feeling victimized is because we have a whole raft of unaddressed grievances. So until we as a nation stare ourselves in the face and address a lot of those historical grievances that remain unaddressed to this day, because we have been unable to look ourselves in the face and sort out our past differences, sort out our grievances that date back to, you know, the colonial times.
Yeah. So we need to exercise the demons.
We need to exercise the demons. I mean, we've made attempts at it. We have failed spectacularly at every turn, with the Truth Commission, with all of those 19 commissions that we've had. Yeah. So until we do that, until we come clean and apologize to each other and start on a clean slate, we will always be starting new things that cannot work. There will be sections of the community that feel entitled, and there will be larger sections that feel victimized.
But you're sticking to your guns. You said underwhelming.
Yes.
Wow. You guys are a tough audience. Okay, let's switch gears. List of shame, folks. List of shame. And I had said before the break, your husband is on the list.
Yes.
Whoa. How is he?
Well, he's carrying his own cross.
Hello? Do tell.
Yeah, well, he was accused, and you know, you all saw me defending him because I was his lawyer. Clearly, you don't abandon a spouse at, you know, such times.
Time of need.
Yeah, the poor man was accused of stealing 0.01194 of an acre, which is less than an eighth of an acre,
right,
of land. Actually, this plot, it's 50 by 100, that belongs to his father. So we're waiting to see whether he'll be prosecuted for that. You know, and we'll see how that goes.
Did you think it was unfair?
Well, you know, he was on the list, and so therefore now we are, you know, due process. Yeah. We're waiting for due process to take its turn.
Yeah. Speaking of due process, KK, with Matemu and his deputy out, some people, critics, are saying it's going to be business as usual, even though Tobiko said today that, you know, they're going to continue with investigations. It's going to be business. I mean, they're going to continue with them. But a lot of people are thinking, look, this is not going to happen. There's no way. People are going to be back at work before you know it.
Well, I think if history is anything to go by, it's understandable why the skeptics are thinking along those lines. But I think this nation has reached a point whereby we are either done away by corruption or we do away with the corruption. Because it's very expensive for this country. And I believe that when I saw the president make his speech when he addressed the nation, there was overwhelming support within the parliament itself, the Senate, and the National Assembly, and the country generally, that finally there is some fresh air as far as tackling these corruptions are concerned. Obviously, once you make allegations, there has to be some proof. And that's why in this country we must celebrate what is called the due process and the rule of law, because every accused person has to have his day in court.
Yeah.
But let us also ask ourselves as Kenyans, how long can we continue dancing around misuse and abuse of public offices, the issue of stealing? I think we now need to move away from the word corruption and tell Kenyans we are talking about stealing of hard-earned taxes of the ordinary Kenyans that denies Kenyans the services of infrastructure, the services of good health, the services of schools, the services of anything and everything. Because some few individuals, they believe they have impunity. They can do anything they want to do. They are insulated against prosecution. And I think this is where now I believe that the step the president has taken, he cannot and must not go back to it. But he must proceed.
But at the same time, Betty, governors are like slapping the president in the face. They're saying, I'm not going to resign. Why should I resign? Why should I step aside? Not a single governor who's been implicated in corruption has said they're going to resign, pending investigations.
Well, just to step back a little bit and answer the first question you asked before I talk about the governors, is the whole question of whether the commission can now be legitimate without the commissioners. And I think you got your answer from PLO when he was on this show a couple of weeks ago, or last week. And he said that every time they come close to actually nabbing those most responsible for the major corruption in this country, something like this happens. They get rid of the commissioners to create a legitimacy problem. And I firmly believe that this is what is happening. That list, if I was a governor or if I was anybody named on that list, I would not step aside on the basis of that list. And I tell you this because I have interacted with these people. And the way they put people on that list leaves a lot to be desired. It was a shoddy, unprofessional hatchet job. Some of it could have been intentional. It could have been intentionally done.
Like witch hunting? Or?
No, leave alone the witch hunting. There's clearly some witch hunting going on. But also putting people on a list, mixing people who you have absolutely no evidence against, so you just throw somebody's name on the list, and then putting on the same list persons against whom real investigations have been done by the commission over many, many years, including from the time of Aaron Ringera.
Like who? Give me an example.
Anglo leasing. That investigation has been going on forever and ever. It's still going on. People have been prosecuted. They've been taken to court. And it's still going on at the EACC. Now, you create a crisis at the commission so that the commission becomes illegitimate. What happens to those prosecutions? They stall. What happens to the investigations? They stall. So this could all be, a red herring. That list could have been a red herring. So right now, I'm not prepared to say that people should step aside because their names appeared on a list.
Yeah.
And what does stepping aside mean anyway? I'll tell you what stepping aside means. It means just sitting in your home. You continue to get paid. You continue to get all your benefits. And you're just waiting for the 60 days to end so that you can be called back into your office.
KK, do you agree with that?
Well, as I said, we have due process and you have the rule of law. I don't care whether you have been named rightly or wrongly. You have not been convicted. You have been accused. But you have your day in court. Now, I don't know the legitimacy or otherwise of those who have been accused? I don't know, because no court process that has taken place. We can all make guesses, we can do all sort of things. Now, the issue here is this. Betty made a reference to chapter 6 on leadership and integrity. If you look at leadership and integrity, chapter 6, and also look at article 10 on national values and principles of governance, it is incumbent upon whoever has been named to be able to take a decision. All right? Now, you cannot force them legally. You cannot tell them, but you have to go out. But if you look at the spirit under chapter 6 and the national values under article 10, somebody should be able to say, well, I've been named, I will step aside. Now, let's first of all make it very clear. When the president talked about 60 days, he talked about 60 days of investigations. He did not say that after 60 days, then you must jump back to your job. No way. That's not what has been said. Right. What the president was talking about is the issue of you keep us, step aside. Let us investigate within 60 days. I mean, it's possible you may not, within 60 days, we may not even have enough credible evidence to be able to take these people to court. Yeah. That doesn't mean the president's word of 60 days necessarily means when it's over and I have not been taken to court, I must go in. The other thing that I think we need to do is this. This corruption, and Betty is right in making reference to Anglo-Leasing and even Goldenberg. These are criminal offenses. Even 50 years down the road, you can still be prosecuted. Doesn't matter what. You can be prosecuted because criminal offenses don't have what we call statute of limitation. Anything can happen. What we need in this country, in my opinion, are two things. One, we must have a law, and we don't have it now, whereby we say, once you are accused of any corruption, within 6 months or 9 months, the matter must be concluded. Because of this saga we are having about people being in the court until they die. You have had some people who have been accused and they die while the case is still going on. To me, it's a charade. Nonsense. We need to come up with timeline within which when you are accused, you're going to be vindicated or you're going to be convicted. That's a very important point. The second point is this. Once you are accused, now in court, not in the parliament or whatever it is, there should be a freezing of your assets. Yeah. For me, that is most important because let me tell you, those individuals that have the financial wherewithal, they can run around the court, and I can tell you, they can make it very difficult. Why do I make reference to timeline? In the current constitution, there was great innovation where they said petitions, you have 6 months. Now we are not petitioning court. The Chief Justice had to institute proceedings to make sure that all petitions are dealt with within a given time. Why can't we do that with the corruption?
Well, maybe we've lost the initiative, Betty. Maybe we've
I mean, I think it's in a sense, I think AK has some, valid points. But we cannot, have this split personality in our legal system and in the way we perceive things in this country. We've been having our two most senior people in this country, the president and the deputy president, facing the most serious criminal charges in an international court of crimes against humanity, and yet they continued in their office. Corruption is very serious. Economic crimes are very serious. So we cannot say that, for some crimes it's okay, we can continue to serve, and for other crimes people must step aside and leave their jobs, and sort of they're almost being looked on as if they're guilty before they have been tried. I think everybody whose name appears on the list, like Kabage says, should undergo the due process of investigations, and if there is any evidence to sustain a prosecution, then they should be prosecuted.
But are you comparing corruption with the ICC, Betty? Is that what you're comparing?
No, a crime is a crime. He's talking about criminal offenses. In fact, he has said, once you're in a court of law, your assets should be frozen. He didn't make a distinction and say that it's, crimes are crimes, whether they're economic crimes or whether they're crimes against humanity, whether it's a Kenyan court, whether it's an international court. So why do we want to make the distinction? I take his point that legal processes must be finite. They must have a date at which they are concluded. We can't have these things that go on forever and ever. And then we can't also have a hierarchy of crimes. Some serious crimes are acceptable, while other serious crimes are completely unacceptable. We have to decide what we want to do in terms of how we treat suspects, whether they are corruption suspects, whether they are criminal suspects, or whatever kind of suspects they are. That's all I'm saying, is that we have to have a standard that applies to all Kenyans.
KK, you want to say something?
I just want to disagree a little bit with my sister here and say this. What are we facing in this country? We are facing a paralysis, a very serious one. And if you look at the root cause of that, is corruption. Serious corruption. That has, you can talk about from 1900 or 1884, when the Bahrain conference took place and the European nations determined that through corruption they can cut and take over Africa and so forth and so forth. That has been going on. But much worse is that now, as an independent nation, we are dealing with a problem that is making this country become totally unlivable. For what reason? Because people are stealing taxes. They're stealing taxes and getting away with it. And for me, I would say this. The reason why I'm an advocate that we need to come to bring finality to these prosecutions is because when the Constitution was passed by Kenyans, 210, an article was there to say that when it comes to a question of elections, election offenses, and I can tell you, election offenses can be criminal.
Yeah.
All right? And they are criminal offenses.
Sure.
Because if you look at the issue of bribery, look at the issue of violence, all these are criminal offenses. If we can come up with a constitutional article to say that within a given period you must bring to finality these election offenses, why can't we do that with this issue that is making this country become a pariah? I don't understand. Why we can't do that.
Like I said, maybe we've lost the initiative. Betty, Frederick Okango is asking a question on Twitter. Says, ask Madam Betty if you were given the job to head the EACC. First of all, would you take it?
I don't have a death wish. No.
You would take it?
No.
I guess that nullifies the second part, because the second part is, would you grill the good senator?
Yes, I've already grilled him.
Have you? But you wouldn't take the job?
No.
KK, would you take that job?
Let me put it this way. I'm prepared to serve the Republic of Kenya in any capacity.
Are you putting your CV out? Is the president watching you?
No. I'm not applying for a job. For your information, I'm very busy. I'm very engaged. But I'm only responding to your question.
Okay.
Can I do it? Why not? I can do the job. Right? There's no job in this republic that I cannot do myself. Yes. If I'm qualified for it, let me put that proviso.
Yeah.
And the panel that will be interviewing so determined that yes, Karanja Kabage can do it. And this job needs to be done by people who are willing to put their lives on the chopping block.
And by the way, it's not a job to be given to anybody.
No.
It is a job that you must apply for, you must be qualified for, you must be vetted. But obviously, as we know, those processes don't work anyway. So, maybe the guy is right. Maybe Fred is right. It's, you know, at the end of the day, it's an appointment, but it's not supposed to be like that.
Okay, because we guesstimate and we make references on this show a lot, who would you think would be the best person for that job, Betty? The best person? In your opinion, just off the cuff.
I'm not able to do that kind of off-the-cuff thing. Maybe KK can do it.
KK, one person.
Jeff Koinange.
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
They should give the job back to PLO.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Could PLO do it?
Maybe he could. I think he could. I think he has a stomach for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the Grand Mullah?
He had the job once.
He was the chairman.
He was the chairman of that thing.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
then.
Yeah, it was KSC.
How did he do?
Well, he didn't do much, but you know, at least he wasn't hounded out. He's the only one who left on his own terms.
The Grand Mullah. There's a thought.
Let's
Let's take a break, come back, talk about the president's plane. I want to know what happened. Does anybody know?
No, I don't know.
Okoa, Kenya? Does anybody know?
Yeah, well, I mean, Okoa Kenya is ongoing, so maybe Kabage knows more about
I
it.
know nothing. I haven't seen the bill.
At least I've seen the bill.
You can share it with me.
Okay.
Yes.
After break, at Betty Murugi, at Karanja, Kabage, at Koinange Jeff, the hashtag JKL. Keep your tweets coming, because you know, Willie, they're coming in thick and fast. JKL takes yet another break. We'll be back in a moment.